again. So that spider up there has 5 legs. So how many legs are missing?
3.
Nice math. And that's how we unschool. Ew.
Peekaboo! So this is the place where there's the magical, the magical bush here. I don't know how it was here. Zoom in this tree, this bush. You gotta see something, it's magical. There we go, zoom. So I have zoomed in. There's this stuff, and there's a bush. It's amazing. We can't live in a wild together like a town.
I don't know if you love that as much as I did, but you're gonna see more of him in future videos, I promise. So hi, my name is Erin. This is my beautiful unschool life. I am currently operating an unschool in Uganda in Africa. And today I want to talk about a common refrain that I hear as an unschooler, which is that unschooling doesn't work for every child. I totally disagree with it. I think unschooling works for every child because I think unschooling is learning in a way that is natural for your child. And if it's not working for your child, then you're trying to make them do something that's not natural for your child. Who it doesn't work for is parents. Parents have all these ideas in their heads of what school is, what education is, and what success is. And those ideas prevent them from seeing the value in letting your child learn in the way that works naturally for them. So in this vlog and the next vlog, I'm going to talk a little bit about parenting styles and the different approaches and the different philosophies that parents take to raising their children, and how some of them work well with unschooling and how some of them do not work at all with unschooling. Basically what it boils down to is some parents want immediate results, and some parents are able to appreciate the long game. Which means that right now and in the moment, if I'm comparing my children to other children, my kids are going to seem behind. They're going to seem socially behind, academically behind, emotionally behind, because they haven't been, kicked into shape with a highly disciplined approach. Unschooling is not a highly disciplined approach. Unschooling is a holistic approach. And a holistic approach means you're doing a little bit of everything. Whereas the traditional schooling method does a lot of a few things. The number one way that we spend our time is watching YouTube. The kids and I sit down every morning in front of my computer and we just start watching videos. The only rule I have is that it can't be like senseless violence. No like fail videos, no funny cat pictures. It's gotta be, there's gotta be an element of exposing them to something about the world. And each kid gets to choose things, and sometimes we sort of go down a rabbit hole, or sometimes we jump all over the place and talk about a bunch of different subjects. But the main thing we do is we get excited about all the information that's out there. We watched the BBC episode with the snakes chasing the baby iguanas, and the kids' reactions were priceless. We watched it like 3 times because they enjoyed it so much. For some people, just sitting and watching YouTube, that's entertainment. Kids aren't learning anything when they're just staring at a screen. And screen time it has its pros and its cons, right? But for me, I see it as exposing them to just how big the world is, how many different people there are in the world, how many different experiences there are in the world. They could ask questions all day, every day, and we would never run out of YouTube videos to watch it. So I really love that, how much it's expanding their world. Whereas I feel like the way that traditional school teaches is it really narrows your world. There's a very small slice of the world that's presented in textbooks. Kids in school, they're gonna be able to pass a test, and my kids aren't. But my kids have a much bigger picture of what the world looks like. than a kid in a classroom with a book. The next most common thing that we do is we play. We play. So here they made a car out of chairs. And yeah, for some parents, that's just gonna look like mess. That's just gonna be a pain in the neck. It's just kids playing. But they're learning how to cooperate together. They're learning how to communicate with each other. They're learning teamwork. And then I threw in a little bit of a geography lesson when I pointed out that the steering wheel was on the Canadian side of the car and not the Ugandan side of the car. And they said, yeah, we're going to Canada. And it's a car that flies because they know that you can't drive from Uganda to Canada. When they're playing drums, you know, that again, it just seems like senseless noise. But they're learning how to work together. They're learning how to make a rhythm together. They're learning how to let one person lead or another person lead. They're also learning how to overcome their shyness by performing in front of people who are watching. And then, you know, we threw in a biology lesson because we recognized that the drum was made out of the skin of a monitor.
Yeah, a monitor lizard, which is the
So
big
that was
part.
kind of cool. You know, even when Treble got an allergic reaction to a plant, we learned about how plants defend themselves, and we learned about how your body defends itself and how histamines and antihistamines work. Most kids aren't going to learn that in school. I know I didn't learn that in school, but my kids can't read. So it's a toss-up. The study of allergies and the way the body defends itself ties into all the learning we've been doing about bacteria and good bacteria and bad bacteria. So a couple of the boys and myself, we had infections, and so we were taking antibacterials, and so that's how we learned about bad bacteria. So we get raw milk here, so every morning we have to pasteurize our milk, so we learn about killing the bad bacteria in our milk. But then we've been making yogurt, so we learn about introducing the good bacteria to the yogurt and how the good bacteria helps our immune system. And then we did the test where everybody touches a piece of bread and we hang it in a Ziploc baggie, and they could see whose hands grew the most germs. And this is one of those things that, you know, it comes in again and again and again to our lives. So they may not learn it the first time and they may not learn it the second time, but by the fourth or the fifth time that we talk about good bacteria and bad bacteria, they start to understand it. Playing with Play-Doh, a lot of parents just see that as messy fun, but you know, the kids, they learned about fractions. Not only did they learn about fractions while mixing the Play-Doh, but they also learned about fractions while cutting the Play-Doh, because of course what do kids do with Play-Doh? They cut it into pieces. This is a half a pizza, this is a quarter of a pizza, this is 3/4 of a pizza. You know, it's a great opportunity for learning fractions. Now, they're not going to learn fractions as quickly as a kid who studies fractions in school, but they're also learning what happens when you mix flour and water and how the moisture leaves, it gets harder, and when you add more moisture, it gets soft again. Here's a really good one. We had some broken eggs, and the kids wanted to smash them into a cup, and then they invented their own science experiment where they wanted to see what would happen if they added paint to eggs. And so,
Never tried it.
even though it was a disgusting mess, and
Yeah,
it made
alright.
my paint
So what do you
smell like
think
rotten
happened?
eggs, and my fridge smell like cold paint, it was a good opportunity for them to ask questions and find answers. So that's a learning opportunity. They're also hatching eggs in our incubator. And I can't even begin to list the number of educational things that are involved in hatching eggs. I mean, they're in it because they want to see some cute baby chickens, but we had to learn about what's the difference between a fertilized egg and a non-fertilized egg. We had to talk about how the hen lays eggs and how the hen hatches eggs, and we had to talk about temperature and keeping a consistent temperature, and the kids have to check the temperature several times a day. And then they have to have patience because it takes 21 days, and they have to learn about the calendar because we're counting the days down until the eggs hatch. And then we got to candle the eggs, and they got to see the teeny tiny little developing chicks inside the eggs, which was like magic to them.
I can see it. I can see it. Can you see it? I can see it.
So there's so many lessons to be had in hatching eggs. We also brought in some caterpillars, and they've gone into their cocoons. So again, we're keeping track on the calendar to see how long it takes. We're keeping an eye on the cocoons to see when they're gonna hatch. We're curious to find out what kind of, we just found a random caterpillar. I don't know what it is. We don't know whether it's gonna be a moth or a butterfly or what. When they're cooking, they're learning about weight. When they go to the dentist, they learn about why we need to be able to feel pain so that you don't accidentally chew a hole in your lip. And they clean the house. They learn that cleaning doesn't have to be a horrible chore. It can be fun. And I learn not to yell at them when they flood the entire house. We made Oobleck, and they had so much fun with it. At the end of the day, when they were describing to their parents what they did, none of them really understood what Oobleck was. But that information about solids and liquids and the rules of physics and how some things don't follow the rules, that's in there. And we will play with Oobleck again, and we will talk about it again. And the more we do it, the more that they will learn. And we learned about how ketchup is also a non-Newtonian fluid, but it goes in the other way, where Oobleck is a solid under pressure, ketchup is a liquid under pressure. So we'll find more examples, and the more they see it, the more they'll understand it. We found a praying mantis, and even a praying mantis is a lesson in camouflage and why things need camouflage, why a predator would need a camouflage, and why prey would need camouflage.
I think, you know why it's camouflage? So animals didn't see it.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a lesson about the food chain, and it's a lesson about respecting all life because they're part of the food chain. Even when Bethany and Abby decided to cut Abby's hair. For most parents, that would be a horrific thing, but I see it as a learning experience. They learned about, what is even and what is uneven. They learned about the permanent consequences of cutting your hair. Like she's going to be still talking 6 months from now about how she used to have long hair, but now she has short hair. I know this because Bethany also cut her hair when she was young. So unschooling only works if you can see the big picture. If you can see that everything is learning and that we're playing the long game and that we're not in a race for our kids to learn more and to learn faster and to be smarter and to get better grades and to get there quicker. As long as you can be patient and play the long game, then unschooling can work for you. Thanks for hanging out with us. It was nice to talk to you. We'll see you next time.